Today I'm checking out the contents of this massive box, and inside is easily the most customisable, DIY friendly and moddable keyboard that Corsair has ever released, the MAKR75. There's so many different options when it comes to switches, modules and other keyboardy bits that Corsair sent me everything in this huge box. Let's see what the MAKR75 is all about, shall we? Hi guys, I'm Matt and welcome to Kit Guru. So let's start with a bit of an unboxing and I'll let you know the prices of the different stuff as we go through everything. To start off with then, let's crack this open. Meet your maker. Let's ditch that for a minute. We have a nice carry case for the MAKR75. Put that to one side. Then, of course, we have the base bare bones MAKR75 kit, which is available in the carbon finish that I've been sent out for review, or silver, and that's going to set you back $159.99 here in the UK. It comes semi-assembled, it's just missing the switches and the keycaps. The board comes with a polycarbonate plate installed, but you can also add this FR4 plate for an extra 16 quid. For switches, Corsair offer 4 different options on their website, which we'll take a look at and a listen to later on in the video. You can leave them out though and add your own if you want to. We've got MLX Pulse switches, we have MLX Plasma switches, we also have MLX Fusion switches, and then finally we have MLX Quantum switches. Corsair's Plasma, Linear, Fusion Tactile and then Quantum speeds will set you back $24.99 if you add them on when you're building the keyboard on the website. And then the Pulse Thocky switches, which are these ones here, they'll set you back 40 quid for a set to fill the whole keyboard. We also have some keycaps, which they're not actually in the box because I've installed them on the board. I've been sent out the Eclipse double shot PBT set, which are 20 quid. That's honestly not too bad for a set of decent keycaps. There are a fair few different sets to choose from on the website though, in a range of double shot ABS or double shot PBT like these ones. And then you can also get die sub PBT, which have got patterns and stuff on them. You can choose from any of the different keycaps when you order a MAKR75. And again, just like the switches, you can choose to leave them out if you want to. We've also got a few different add-on modules in this giant box that they sent out. First, there's a wireless module, which is here, which will add wireless connectivity to the MAKR75, and this will set you back 50 quid. And then you also have the LCD display module, which can be added on for 16 quid, and it'll let you change out the standard dial that comes in the top right corner of the MAKR75 for a small LCD screen. Aside from that, we have this nice, well, this is the box, but there is a nice coiled cable from Drop, which you can obviously pick up from Corsair now. Corsair took over Drop a little while ago, and then you've got a variety of tools and stuff like that, including a keycap and switch pull-off to help with assembling the keyboard. If you go for the DIY option, you can get the keyboard fully assembled as well if you want to. If you choose to go all in and order everything to make the whole keyboard, including both of the modules like the wireless module, the screen module, the extra build plate, a set of keycaps and a set of switches, then that brings the grand total to 300 quid. Of course, you don't need to order all of that stuff, but if you go all out, this isn't a cheap keyboard. And one big thing that I have to bring up as well is that each of those prices that I just mentioned are for if you order the thing at the same time as the whole keyboard kit. You will be able to order all of the add-ons and stuff separately soon, but if you order, say, the wireless module after you've already bought a MAKR75, then the price goes up from 48 quid to 60 quid. And if you fancy the FR4 plate at a later date, well, it will now cost you 20 quid instead of 16 quid. I'm not a fan of that at all, to be honest. The marketing for the MAKR75 and even the name of the product itself is clearly aimed at people who want to get into DIY and have a tinker with their keyboard. But if you don't go all in from day one, you have to pay more. I think that's a bit of a joke, to be honest. Let us know in the comments what you think of that. Back when I looked at the K65 Plus wireless, I said that I thought that was the first time that we were starting to see expertise from drop seeping into Corsair's keyboard design, and the MAKR75 feels like the next step along in that timeline. It's easily the most premium feeling Corsair keyboard I've ever had my hands on, and as we just saw, it's very, very easy to customise, either with Corsair parts or with your own. The case is full aluminium top to bottom and is finished really well. It's got smooth corners and feels really well made, chamfered edges, there's no angles or anything like that. You can pick it up either in this carbon finish I have in front of me, or then silver, as I mentioned a minute ago. The board's got a typical 75% layout, which is my personal favourite. It's compact, yet it retains the arrow keys and the function row and a few of the navigation keys on the right hand side. The functionality and in turn the looks of the MAKR75 changes depending on which modules you've got installed. In the top right corner, you get by default this metal dial, which changes volume levels and mutes or unmutes audio straight out of the box. It can do a lot more than that though, which we'll run through when we look at the software in a bit. That dial can be swapped out for the LCD display module, which adds a 1.3 inch 240 by 240 screen to the MAKR75. This can display stuff like GPU and CPU stats, battery levels, and then GIFs. Again, they're all configurable in iCue, and I'll show you that quickly later on. I have to mention though, every GIF that I've tried and tested on the keyboard does lag quite a lot. Hopefully Corsair can fix that with a firmware update and make them play a little bit smoother. Without the wireless module installed, there's a small plastic strip with some Corsair branding just above the function keys. If you install that wireless module, which is really easy to do, there's a pretty detailed guide on Corsair's website, then that plastic strip is swapped out for a different version which houses the on-off toggle switch and the wireless connectivity buttons. The toggle and the buttons are all really tactile and clicky. They're easy to adjust and I like them quite a lot. They're not finicky like some keyboards can be, where it's accidentally you're switching it to Bluetooth when you want to switch it to wired and stuff. If you've used a three-way connectivity keyboard, you'll know exactly what I mean. Then there's a few other bits of branding, a Corsair logo along the bottom edge, and then the product name on the left-hand side. The minimal branding is nice to see, and I think it suits the product design quite well. Flip the board over to the bottom and you'll find a switch to toggle between Windows and Mac OS. And just like I've said about other keyboards in the past, that's really nice to see, but it's been placed in a very inconvenient position, especially if you switch between two systems quite regularly. The feet are magnetically attached and non-adjustable. I suppose you can remove them, which is kind of an adjustment, but it's not like we usually see on keyboards. There's no three-way typing angles. Other than that, the design of the bottom of the MAKR75 is much like Corsair boards that we've seen in the past, with the Corsair logo smack bang in the middle, although this time around it's obviously full aluminium, as I said earlier. Overall, the MAKR75 feels rock solid. It's built exceptionally well, everything fits together seamlessly, and the whole package feels very premium, as it should for this amount of money, the 300 quid. Design-wise, it isn't overly gamery and it looks quite mature. This is becoming a trend in the sort of keyboard scene, if you want to call it that. It's a bit cringy, not just for Corsair, but for most of the big PC gaming brands. I suppose their keyboard design is kind of maturing and keyboards that are coming out from them don't look like they're straight from 2010, and I'm personally all for that.
Looking to buy a gaming PC? Then you need to visit Cyberpower PC. We'll help you with the best spec at a price you'll love. With us, you get 5 years warranty, a lifetime of technical support, and systems built by experts. So it's no wonder so many gamers choose Cyberpower PC.
Of course, it's got the signature Corsair RGB, which is pretty good. There's a fair few options to choose from in iCue, and you can create custom setups with different layers, but I don't think they've overdone it, the RGB vibes on the MAKR75. It's a well-balanced looking board in my opinion. Let's move on to talk about the keyboard holy trinity then, keycaps, switches and stabilisers. And as I said earlier, Corsair sent me out a set of their PBT Double Shot Pro keycaps in the Eclipse finish, and they're nice enough. The quality is there for sure, there's no rough spots or burrs, but then the shine through legends do have a few dim spots here and there with the backlighting, particularly noticeable on the bottom edges of the legends due to the north facing LEDs in the switches. These keycaps that I was sent out are OEM profile, the same as the Silver Sun, which is the other Double Shot Pro PBT set that you can pick up. Then the die subsets are Cherry Profile, and the double shot ABS sets are DCX Profile. Speaking of the switches, I've been primarily using Corsair's MLX Pulse Focky switches, as that's what Corsair sent out to me for the review. I do have samples of the others as well though, I just haven't got enough to completely fill the whole keyboard. I'll give you a recording of each of them in a moment. I'll stick a graphic up on screen as I show you each switch with the specs. You can also listen to each of the switches on Corsair's website too, which is a nice thing to see. The screw-in stabilisers are factory lubed, just like the switches are, and they do a pretty decent job of minimising rattle. It's way better than some of the Corsair keyboards I've looked at over the past few years. But the spacebar, it does sound a little bit hollow still. It's not bad. There are two hefty pieces of foam underneath it, but it does still stand out next to the other keys. Here's that run through of the different switches and the two different plates that you can get as well, and what different sounds they produce. So the MAKR75 sounds pretty good. As I said, the spacebar does stand out a little bit, but it doesn't sound bad. I wouldn't call it bad anyway. Cracking the board open to have a look at the internals then, we can see that Corsair have used 8 different layers of sound dampening material. That's pretty impressive. The very bottom layer does get partially removed when installing the wireless module, because the battery has to go somewhere, so you have to take some of the silicone out to fit the battery module in. The gaskets which cushion the PCB are nice and chunky. They work kind of like suspension for the keyboard, softening the bottom out feeling of the keycaps. Installing the wireless and LCD modules might seem a bit daunting if you've never tinkered with or disassembled a keyboard before, but Corsair have done a good job of keeping everything simple, both with the use of alignment holes and kind of shapes of different pieces in the actual board itself, and with the really clear instructions on their website. It's straightforward to assemble, and personally for me, installing switches and keycaps can be kind of therapeutic, so it's kind of a nice thing to do, take your keyboard apart and rebuild it. Now, I feel it's pretty obvious that the main focus of the MAKR75 is the customization and the kind of DIY aspect to it, but it does pack a few features in that make it a pretty well-rounded keyboard to use too, especially when you throw all of the money at it and get those additional modules, make it wireless and all that sort of stuff. As standard and without the wireless module, it's obviously wired only. That wired connection is capable of polling though up to 8000 Hz with Corsair's Axon hyperpolling. Add in the wireless module and you'll gain 2.4 GHz slipstream wireless and Bluetooth connectivity with the hardware toggle switch to flick between them as we saw earlier. Using the board wirelessly though does see the polling rate drop to 2000 Hz, which is still more than good enough for 99.9% of people on slipstream wireless, and then on Bluetooth, which I've never used for gaming, it's like 125 Hz, something like that off the top of my head. The board also supports flash tap on 2 opposing keys which can be customized in iCue. That's Corsair's implementation of null keybinds or SOCD, letting you tweak how the board handles input priority on those 2 keys that you set up. For example, if you hold A to strafe left in a game, then you press D while still holding A down, if you have the MAKR75 set up for last input priority, it will take that right strafe input and overwrite the holding down of the A. You don't have to let go of left to move right. That's really useful in certain games for like jiggle peeking, but it is controversial in pro level gaming and esports, but I'm certainly no pro level gamer or esports player. And talking of gaming, I've been testing out the MAKR75 while playing some Tarkov, and it is solid. I like the layout, as I mentioned earlier. It's compact, but it's still functional, and it feels good when gaming. Key presses have always been registered without any perceivable lag, and I'd be happy to use this thing day in, day out for my level of gaming. One omission from the gaming set of features is adjustable actuation. As we don't have magnetic switches on this keyboard, it's not possible, so it's not quite as customizable in terms of gaming as some other boards out there. Battery life when using the wireless is pretty good, but it does vary based on lighting levels, connection method, and if you have the screen installed. Run it without the screen or the RGB, and on Bluetooth, and Corsair reckon you're going to get up to 172 hours. Switch over to 2.4 GHz and add in the screen and RGB, and that figure drops to around 38 hours. I've been testing it for a few weeks now and I haven't had any annoying battery level issues, but one thing that has annoyed me is checking the battery level when the screen isn't installed. If you hit function and escape, which will cause the escape key, the backlight to go red, amber or green based on the battery level that's remaining. Now I'm red-green colourblind, so it's been fun trying to work out what that actually means, and I can't see any way to change the colours at all. The experience of using the keyboard overall though to type and game has been good. It's Corsair's best yet, I think. Finally, before we wrap up the video then, we'll take a quick look at iCue, the software for customising everything. It's a standard Corsair setup as far as lighting and general tweaking like key remapping goes. There's varying effects to choose from, and remapping keys is as straightforward as it ever has been on any Corsair products. The rotary dial and screen menus will show up in iCue depending on which you've got installed at the time of connecting the keyboard to your computer. The dial itself has a lot of functions. You can toggle them on and off in the software and then cycle through them by holding it down for half a second. Then the screen has the ability to show various stats like I mentioned earlier, and you can pick through loads of different GIFs from, I think it was Giphy in there. But as I said earlier, they lag a little bit. However, I have to mention, talking about software, one big thing that's in the pipeline at Corsair is Corsair's Web Hub. This is a web-based config tool for Corsair peripherals, so you won't have to install iCue if you don't want to. It was meant to release this keyboard and it's still in beta now, and I haven't been able to get it to work. It just won't pick up the keyboard when it's connected to my computer. I reported this to Corsair and was told that there's been some growing pains and they're still working on it. So once they get it up and running correctly, I'll revisit it in a future video and show you guys what it's all about. So we're stuck with iCue for now until they iron out the sort of kinks with the Web Hub. But iCue's a decent bit of software that does what it needs to do, to be fair to it. I know a lot of you don't like software for peripherals, but then some do. iCue's all right compared to some of the software programs that we've got out there for peripherals. There we have it then. That was the MAKR75, easily the most customizable and DIY focused keyboard we've ever seen from Corsair. It's probably, I think it is actually their best ever keyboard in all honesty. It's definitely the most premium and well-rounded that I've ever looked at. The build quality is excellent all round, I can't fault it at all. The case has been machined and finished to a really high standard and the whole package feels solid and well built. The typing experience and sound profile are both good. It's a satisfying board to use for sure, whether that's for typing or for gaming. But it is expensive when you go all in, and you don't get me started on the add-ons being more expensive if you don't buy them straight away. Corsair, if you're going to sell a DIY keyboard, don't penalise people for wanting to chop and change stuff after day one. Make it as easy to order the wireless module, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months after you've bought the keyboard. You shouldn't have to pay more to do that. Don't get me wrong though, that's my only real moan about it, that little pricing thing. I really like the MAKR75, but that pricing tactic really rubbed me up the wrong way. But don't let it shadow how good of a keyboard this is, even though it is expensive. And that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a like down below if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to Kit Guru to keep up with the latest PC gaming news and reviews. And if you go down below this video, you'll find links to our merch store to pick yourself up some Kit Guru t-shirts or hoodies. And then in the video's description, you'll find links to our Discord server, our Patreon page, or our website if you want to check any of that stuff out. Anyway, guys, I've been Matt. This has been the MAKR75 keyboard from Corsair. I will speak to you in the next one. Look after yourselves. See you later.